Hi everyone, thanks for joining me again. Today we're going to take another look at early extension. You may have noticed in some recent videos I've let you know to feel free to message me, ask any questions about the content or about your own game. So today, Mr. David Fishburne, this was your message around early extension and more specifically, what can we do to train it better? And great question, because with many players that I work with, it's very clear from the 3D what they actually need to do. It then becomes a question of how to reach the improvements they're looking to get, so how to train it. So we're going to go over that today. Early extension obviously seems to be a very common question that comes up, how we can work away from early extending the golf swing. So that is that typical move from the top, where we will lose the space between our body from the ball and then really hurts the rotations through impact, and we often get very handsy through the shot, so delivery is really compromised. Okay, so going into early extension in just, I wouldn't say more detail, but really it's just a couple more areas to consider. As far as early extension is concerned, a couple of areas I feel a lot of players often miss is just physically. I'd say one, physically where your body is at, the options it has are going to really influence the way you move when you go to create force. So when you go to transition and move into hitting the shot, where you want to obviously create as much club head speed as you can, what your body has to offer and its dominant movement patterns are going to be exposed. So if this is something you really want to go down the journey of understanding how you move in transition, getting a good fitness screen and understanding your body is going to definitely be helpful. Okay, just so you understand those areas of weaknesses, what your postural patterns are, things like that. You don't have to do it a ton. See someone really good, see them once, maybe a couple of times a year at the most. If you like it, go more, but it's going to help your golf game if you have the opportunity to move better. Okay, moving on to area number two that people don't often consider. How you move through backswing and how you load in backswing and create stretch is also going to really influence on how you move through transition. So common tendency that I see, really common one, is if the hand path gets deep, the lead shoulder then is going to move very much with the pelvis in transition and pull everything a little bit that way out in front, losing space. Going back to physical factors, and a very common one is I say, people don't stand well in the sagittal plane, which is the down the line plane. That inhibits good rotation in the starter swing. So often you'll see little bits of thrust and sway really early. All right, so there's so much to consider around early extension rather than just what's happening in transition. Okay, but now I'm going to go into a couple of things, because often with players as well, which is really, I think, helpful for a lot of players just to know, is that if you're clear on how to move in transition, then you can make nice evolutions of the backswing as well. All right, so as far as in transition, the keys or the cues I'm going to go over today, related back to Mr. Fishburne's comment, was that he commented that in his transition phase, his knee would get out in front and he'd get up on his toe. And from there, when he pushed, that would push him into more early extension. Okay, so through the ground, I feel is a really helpful feedback option for players. So as he mentioned, often you just see in early extension, players very quickly into that right toe. Pelvis moves towards the ball. Like you can see my belt buckle there moving towards the ball. And when I do that move, I don't feel much traction with the ground. Okay, I don't feel much connection. It's almost, it's like I'm very light on the ground, again, because I'm moving towards my toes. So opposite feel, I like opposites for training. So we get into the training phase here. Opposite for feel would be, from there, instead of getting on my toes, I'm going to stay more in the right heel. And instead of feeling like I'm not really having much interaction with the ground, I'm going to feel as though while I'm trying to get open with the pelvis, I'm creating a lot of traction with the ground. Best way I could describe it, almost like I'm tearing the ground apart with my feet. So from the top, I'm creating that traction with the ground. It feels like I'm ripping the ground apart. Pelvis is trying to get open. You can see that feel through the ground. Instead of my belt buckle moving towards the ball now, is now backing up away from the ball and creating more space for me. So again, good connection with the heel here, staying in the heel much longer into the downswing. So that feel with the ground, if you're on grass, I think is the best feedback here. Get on it with your, leave your golf shoes on, you don't have to go barefoot. Feel like you're tearing the ground apart while you're moving into the delivery position, pushing that pelvis open. So from face on, if I do that, it's feeling like I'm again tearing it apart, getting that pelvis open. You'll notice there's not too much lateral, again, because I'm saying I'm focused on getting it open. Most people at early extend get a lot of lateral early into the downswing as they push a little bit too early. So we're going to just get that rotation while we're feeling that tearing of the ground there, and that's going to stop me going too lateral too soon. And then when I'm in this position here, I'm in a position there as well with the feet. I can feel in a good position to actually push off that right side through the shot, and it's when I push off that right side I get a nice lateral into the ball in the later phases of the downswing. Okay, so that was number one, the interaction of the ground for today. Number two, with early extension. So when I look at 3D, really evident here, once a player gets too much this way, the upper body then stands up to make space. So the bend between, let's just say, femur, lower body and upper body really disappears. They start to stand up. So as you're tearing the ground and you're doing that way, feel as though you're staying almost in your posture, very simplistic way of putting. You might even, from an extreme standpoint, want to feel as almost like you're decreasing the angle between lower body there and upper body. And again, you can see how now my pelvis is pushed further backwards. Okay, so that's number two, angle between upper and lower. While we're doing that movement with the lower body, we're staying more over it with the upper body. We're not allowing ourselves to stand up. And then number three for today, hand path. So you don't have to think about all these at once. It may be what you need to do as a player, but try one at a time and see what works for you. So from a hand path standpoint, or a handle path, we look at on the 3D there. From the top, hand path for early extension often looks something like that from the top. Hand path, once we do this move, often looks like this, so I can stay under the stick that's on the floor there. You can see it's halfway between my toes and the ball. So from the top, early extension, hands get above the stick as I look at them here. If I do a better move, hands stay under the stick, and then I can rehearse moving into it. Okay, so there's three options to just add to the early extension catalog, we'll say to speak. Now training it. So hopefully there's something here that'll help you out there to train it. So just as far as training in general, I find that players often don't connect to how extreme they have to feel it to make it improve the level they're looking for. So they'll feel it, and then when they get on the ball, it won't look too much different. That's where the 3D is amazing, because I can quantify if there's improvement. It might not look any different yet on a video. It'd be really hard to pick out, but on the 3D, when we're working on something like this, I can tell if that pelvis thrust is, even if it's just 1 centimeter better, or if it's this much better, I can tell whether we're doing the right things and tell the player, you need to just feel it more because you're doing the right thing. Okay, so often players don't feel it enough. So you can see when I was going through those exercises there, we'll call them, or those feels, I was really exaggerating the feels. Like when I'm doing this, I'm really feeling the ground. Like I literally couldn't rip the ground anymore while I'm doing this move here. Okay, to actually push my pelvis back and away. I'm also in a lot more flexion here at the hip than I would want to be coming into the shot. So first point is just feel it more, and you don't have to, and feel it away from the ball as well. Rehearse it away from the ball. Use external feedback like the mirror or taking videos of yourself just to build that movement awareness, because lots of times I feel that players are just not, they're not aware, and then they see it and they're like, oh wow, like that's not how I pictured it in my head at all. So use mirrors, use camera, just hugely helpful resources to quantify the amount that you have to feel it to make the improvements that you want to make. Okay, second point with improving, and this again is a huge mistake I see, or an area that players could improve. They're not precise enough on the actual specific area of the swing they're trying to improve their feel. So a player, say for example, is working on transition, being very defined upon, like, oh, transition would be, say, from here to here, what they would want to feel. I'm going to see big movements, big long swings that don't look too much different in that specific area. Okay, so slow things down, slower rehearsals, and be clearer on what you're trying to do. So if we're looking at early extension today, like, let's work nice and slow in that phase there. If it's something in the takeaway, and I see this all the time with takeaway stuff that might lead to early extension, the initial move this way that gets the lead arm across the body, let's slow it down and do slow rehearsals. The number of times I have to tell players, we have to really slow down your takeaway if we want to evolve this, it's just multiple times a week, because they're so quick moving the club away. A lot of the time we just need to slow down, be really specific and really precise on just one area of the swing, and then just do your best at that, and see how it evolves all the other areas. So there's a couple of points there just to help with the training as well. Difficult to do here, but for a lot of players as well, external, having something physical, almost like a wall, can be very helpful to train the movement. Everyone is different as to what they connect to help them to make that change. So once you're clear on your feels, whether you've used, you know, a wall is often one that gets used a lot for early extension, or whether you've just done the feels extreme, once it comes to hitting the shot, my biggest advice is, once you're over the ball there, is to first of all disconnect from the result, put the ball on a tee peg to allow you to almost just chip shots. And this is one that I've gone over multiple times in my videos, but if you want to make an improvement, you can't be too connected with the ball flight in many cases. There are times when players can go right there and hit it, but if you want to do that, give it 3 or 4 balls, check it on video, see if it's improving, and if it is, then go ahead, you're all good for full speed. But if you're not making the improvements that you like once you look at it, get the ball on a tee peg, be clear in that area you want to be improved, and then work on getting everything to just slow it down coming into the swing. What percentage or what speed can you successfully execute the movement that you're looking to improve? Okay, so I might start off doing this move, say I'm going to try and do it now at, like, I'd say 40%. Okay, so 40% swing, working on moving really well through transition. Want to really make sure that there's no early extension, I'm keeping my space. So in here, being really clear. Okay, so that was me feeling it there. And then just recap it after the shot, because in my head right now, I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, that only felt like I made 10-15% improvement. My attention wasn't enough there, so I can then go in and feel it more. Okay, so after each shot, you know, just take that time to just have that, to give yourself that feedback. Don't just feel like, oh, the ball wasn't good, that wasn't good. You know, maybe I actually, when I'm practicing video, I think almost every shot, because that's how purposeful I want each ball to be. So I'm in here again. I want to keep my space here. In there, all the time you might want to be clear on how you're going to get to impact and through the shot. So having that connection between, if I move this way here, that allows me to move into the shot that way and through. Connecting it all together helps a lot of players in lots of occasions. Sometimes players don't need, they make that connection themselves. They just adjust whatever they want it is they're looking to adjust or improve, and they're better through. I have to very clearly see that, okay, if I do this, that allows me to move into the ball this way. So I have to have that clarity. And again, that last one was at 40%, so maybe I'll try like a 30% swing here and see if I can do any better with it. Okay, felt a little lateral on that one, so I feel like I can, when I say lateral, I feel like I was a little that way on it, so I feel like I can stay more in that right side there, feel more of that feel and move through while I'm doing this. Let's try that again. And alternatively, this happens sometimes as well. Sometimes players will move better, so I'm going to try this one at 60% and see if that allows me to use the ground better and push that through there. So just playing around with different speeds and finding where you can train it best. No, it sets up properly here. It's a bit better. Didn't get as much lateral on that one. Let's see if I can hit one more. Do a really good job of this. This is something that I do stay on myself. In the past, when I was younger, specifically with longer clubs, really struggle with this. Okay. All right, let's see if we can hit a really nice one now. Okay, not bad there, a little bit better. But anyway, there, just the combination of the feels and potential opportunities of how to train it. Hope that connects with some of you out there. And just like David did, if you have any questions about your own game or about the content, we'd love to answer them. Please go to ianmillergolf.com, sign up for the newsletter. I'm looking to put out some really cool stuff to people that are just connected to that newsletter.